My name is Tracy Ann, and I am here to do my prompt for day 5 of the Junk Journal July Challenge, which is opening. And got my starting supplies here, and some distress pens, my watercolor brush. I have some water over here to the side, some washi, which I may or may not use, a Tombow pen, some paper, and a birthday card that I got from my in-laws. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and see where we end up. I am going to move some of these items over to the side, get them out of the way. So I have this card, birthday card. I did cut off the back already so that I just have a little flap. So my thought with opening was that I could attach this to the page and it could open. So that is my general idea, and I had some thoughts, so I jotted them down here, but I'm not going to share them with you on paper. I'm just going to talk to you about it. So I love this. It's bright and vibrant. I think it fits really well with sort of the happy boho vibrant colors that I wanted to use. And I thought I love tipping things in. So I thought this would be a great tip in that could then open. And then I will cover this up when I do this other side. But before I do the tip in, I need to cover this because I don't like that. When I was looking for some paper to cover this with, I found this from Plato's Apology of Socrates. It's got Greek writing in it. Oh, sorry about the sun. Tried to block it, but it's still coming in a little bit. I love the Greek, and I think it looks so pretty with the butterfly on top of it. And so I'm going to use that on this side. Of course, I only have one page from this, so I found something that was a really similar color and also had some interesting text. And I will use that on the other side of the book. So first job, I think, is going to be to cover both of these pages with this paper. I am going to use some acrylic matte medium for that, because with using the watercolor, I want to make sure that it doesn't come up. So I'm actually going to push pause and do that off camera. I don't know that you really need to see me painting acrylic medium onto a page. So I'm going to push pause, and I'll come back once I've adhered these 2 pages to the background. I actually had to turn this back on. I haven't glued it down yet. I have a brand new container of this. It's never even been used. It is always, anybody else feel that way? It's just so nice to break into a brand new product and start using it. Oh, look at that. Yay. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and smush this on here. No need to waste all that gel. And I'll work on spreading that out, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've got my pages glued down. This is just some wax paper behind to protect the pages underneath from getting gel medium on them. So they're wet. So I'm gonna set these aside to let them dry, because I do have a little bit more prep to do to this butterfly. So I'll do that. I'll set this aside, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean this brush, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I need to do a little bit more prepping of this card. I did make the flap so that it can open, since the prompt is opening. But what I'd like to do is remove this center part so that you can see the page underneath. So in order to do that, I should have enough here I've got about not quite an inch, maybe half an inch on both sides, which should be enough for the flap. So I'm going to, and I think I'm gonna, I guess I'll just cut in straight to where it meets. That'll reduce the amount of bulk on the other page as well, which will be nice. And I am going to try and go fairly close with this because the background paper isn't white, so this white is going to really stand out. Now I'm also going to, because this is thick and stiff and a little bit in my way, I'm going to trim that off a bit. Now I do want to keep the antenna if I can, so see if I can fussy cut. It's always harder to fussy cut when you've got a real thick card. So with this I am going to keep a little bit of the white just because I don't trust myself in my skills. And actually, let me go ahead and cut some more of this off. I'm going to come back and do this last just because it's the more challenging part of the fussy cut, and then that way I can get all of the other thickness out of the way before I attempt to tackle this. So I'm actually pretty proud of myself. I'm doing a fairly decent job of not getting a whole lot of white and also not cutting off a lot of the black. And again, go right to where that hinge is and then cut so I have the two tabs that will adhere to my page. And don't need this anymore. And then I'll come back and cut around these antennae carefully so I don't cut it off. I have done that before. One time I was doing this and I sneezed and snipped the whole thing off, which wouldn't be the worst situation, but it's not ideal. Okay, so I did a pretty good job, except for right here, this little extra smudgy hanging off. Did a pretty good job, but what I'm gonna do is take my Tombow and just kind of go around the edge on the places where I see the white, especially in here. Where it was just so tight to cut. Clean up those edges just a little bit. This was already cut out. It's just right here, there. Looks like I cut it perfectly. Oh, I missed a spot right there. And that leaves the back pretty much untarnished. Probably use that later. Okay, so now I've got this guy, and bring this back here now. And this is still damp. I can feel it, but what I can do is I can go ahead and adhere this on the back and then let this continue to dry. So I think I will put this right like so, and then I'm gonna grab, I don't want this to shift, and it doesn't sit quite down on the edge because this is a little too, well, I probably could get it closer if I don't want it to rub the springs. There we go. That's a little closer anyway. I'm gonna paper clip both sides here. Goodness gracious. And then that way I can flip this over and glue down these edges. And I think I'm going to use my art glitter glue for that. So I will slide this over here and apply some glue to this back page, and then push it down. Let that paper clip kind of help it stay in place. And then do the same thing here. Glue it down. Again, let that paper clip help that stay in place. All right. Now I think I am going to set this, all aside so that these pages can dry a little bit. It'll be fine. I have to have the paper clips. Flip this open so that that can dry and also this paper can dry. And I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so pages are still a little wet, but I can continue working. I am going to leave these protecting wax paper pages underneath. So my idea is to take and trace the butterfly and then color the part underneath that is sort of it's the shape in black, and then handwrite a quote onto the black. And then on this side, coming from here, create sort of ribbons of color in watercolor. And I'm thinking orange and pink and yellow. And then possibly edging between them with black, with the black Tombow. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. So that's kind of where I'm going next. So the first thing I need to do is lightly trace this. So that I have the shape of the butterfly here. And I'm not gonna worry, oops, ran out of lead. I'm not gonna worry about the antenna. It's more complicated than I can manage. So, see if I've got this, if I can see the whole, can't really see that. I'm gonna erase this. But I definitely need to be able to see it to do the outline. Okay, so that might be hard for you to see. You have to trust me that I outlined it. Now, I'm gonna write on this with white marker, and it's occurred to me that this Tombow is water-based, and so I'm afraid if I write on it with this gel pen, it might bleed. So I'm going to do a little test here. So I'll just, so my idea was that I would color it in with the Tombow, and then once this dried, that I would come back and use the, little stringy. Use the pigment ink pen to write on it. But I am a little bit worried that it's going to bleed. So let's see here. It is picking up some of the ink. Okay, I'm gonna need to find something that is a little bit more permanent. Okay, I don't really have, I thought maybe I would have a nice fat Sharpie, and I don't. So I think I'm gonna have to use black acrylic, or I'm gonna try the black acrylic, but actually even before I do that, I'm gonna test that and see if one, I can write on it with that pen. And yeah, so that was swatch number one, attempt number one. Let me grab just another bit of paper here. Actually, I'll just use the back of the card. So let that dry, and then I'll test that out. Okay, I'm back. I let this dry a little longer, and then I went and did it again, and it worked better. It didn't bleed onto the white pen. And I do like the sort of chalk look of this. But then I tried it on the acrylic, and can you see the difference? This is a lot more white. I think this is bleeding into the paper a little bit, and the acrylic is not allowing it to bleed, and I like that look a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the acrylic paint. Always a great idea when you aren't sure about something to kind of test it out. All right, so here we go. Go around the edges first. And I'm intentionally going just a little bit inside of the pencil line that I drew, because when it's down, I don't really want the black to peek through. Although if it did a little bit, I don't think it would really be the end of the world. But I want it to sort of be a surprise when you lift it up. So, oop, I went a little overzealous there. A little further out than I'd intended. And I'm also not worried if I end up with some little brushy strokes on the outside. I like the way it looks, and since this is gonna have watercolor going on as well, it doesn't have to look super precious. In fact, I think I'm going to intentionally let the tail be a little brushier, little less solid color. I do need more paint. This is almost out. I'd have to make a trip to the craft store to get some more. I'm not sure if I told you, so this is Folk Art Pure Black. I like this paint. Get it at Michael's. That is not, I'm not sponsored. That is not a plug. It is just the most convenient craft store to me. So that's where I get my craft supplies. All right, let me go back up here. Painting towards myself just is always a little bit easier. And again, I'm not super worried about the edges being utterly pristine. I don't want it to look printed. I want it to look hand done. There's this one little bristle that keeps popping out. It's making me crazy. You probably can't see it, but trust me, it's there. Okay, and then go here, and then down this way. Can you see this? Yeah, I think so. So for example, I'm not super worrying about all the little ridges that I traced. And because again, I just want the outline, the feel of the shape of the butterfly. It was a little squinchy there. Okay, now I just need to, I'm losing a lot of that beautiful Greek lettering that I love so much, but you can still see enough of it. I want to get this as smooth as I can so that it's easy to write on. I don't want a lot of ridges because that'll make a bumpy surface and it'll be much harder for me to write when I get to that point. And again, I think I'm gonna let some of the paper come through. Just to see how that looks. And I may change my mind after I paint both sides, and if I do, I can fill it in. Yeah, I kind of like the texture that gives. Did end up with a little ridge right there. Let's see if I can finish this without having to squeeze out any more paint. Will I have enough? Don't like that looks like a circle. Try and obliterate that a little bit. Yeah, I like that sort of rough look there. Okay, now that needs to dry a little bit, and while that is drying, this brush rinsed off the rest of the way, and have a jar of water, but I like to put the lid on after I'm done using it because I know myself, and that way, one, I'm less likely to hit it, and two, if I do hit it, it's less likely to make a huge mess. All right, so now I'm gonna think about where I want the colors to sort of emanate from. So they're gonna start here, and thinking just, you know, here, and then maybe out like this, and then maybe here, and maybe here. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, and then I can watercolor those. I think I am going to wait until this dries so that I don't end up getting black in the watercolor. So I wait till that dries, which means that once again I need to push pause, this time probably for a little bit longer. Okay, I'm back. This is dry, and so I'm going to, here's the moment of truth, right? So I've got my Koi watercolors here. This is my go-to watercolors, don't really have another set. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to the colors that I'm going to use, just to kind of get them nice and juicy. And I guess I'll set this here. And I have this number 12 round brush that I'm going to use. And I think what I'm going to do is put orange on top, yellow in the center, and then pink on the bottom. And so I guess I'll start with, I think I'm going to start with the yellow and then do the other colors. Or maybe not, I don't know. Yeah, I'll start with the yellow. So what I think I am going to do is do some yellow here and here just to get the color down, because I want it to be super saturated right there. And then so that it doesn't not bleed, I'm gonna go ahead and do the orange and do a little bit of the pink here so that they can kind of coexist. And then I had a tissue. There, I'll just use this. A little too much bleeding there. And a little too much bleeding there. I don't want them quite that melded into each other. And then on this side, I'm going to go ahead and put down a wash of water first so that the colors can move a little bit. And then, like I said, I'm going to start with the orange. Just paint it on. Get a little bit of movement in the color. And then, you know what, I had this yellow, but I'm gonna mix a little bit of this other yellow in. So yellow, a little bit of the school bus yellow, and a little more water. A little more water here. There we go. And then the pink. Same thing, just make sure the water hasn't gone in. And then, woo! Lots of movement there. All right, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna let that kind of be. Set my brush aside. While that's gelling itself, oh, you know what I'm actually realizing is it stops here. And I did not want to do that. So let's bring that color in from the book page onto the background page so that there's a little bit of continuity between the two pages. Yeah, good call. Okay. So again, I'll let that brush just sit. So I tested the Tombow that I was thinking about doing in between while it was still wet, and it didn't run a whole lot. Then I put a little water on it and it ran quite a bit. I actually am not sure that I really want this level of bleed. I think I'm pretty satisfied with the way that this looks, and what I will do is use a really thin, like a 005 micron, which is archival, and it is not water-based, so it won't bleed, to do some thin lines there, to bring that black over, but not make it quite so harsh. Okay, so yeah, that is that, and I really can't do a whole lot of anything else until this whole thing dries. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, so I'm back. Everything is dry now. After I paused the video, I decided that the orange, yellow, pink, just plain, I didn't really like it. Wasn't what I wanted. So I added a little bit of the pink into the orange, a little bit of the orange into the yellow, and into the pink. And it's just given it a little bit more depth than it had before. And I like it a whole lot better. So now what I need to do is go through and, as much as I can, erase the pencil marks. In some cases, I watercolored over it, and they're just not going to go away. I don't think they'll be terribly obvious once I add the black pen lining to it, but I'm going to clean up some of it. Okay, so this page is, not surprisingly, kind of curled up. Go ahead and get these out of the way because everything is dry. Okay, so then I'm going to take, like I said, this Micron 0.005 archival ink pen, and I'm going to hold it super lightly because I don't want a lot of it. I'm not even particularly interested in it, if it even touches the page the entire time. I'm again just wanting to add a little bit of line to it, and that'll kind of hide the pencil a little bit. It's very, very subtle. And then just to get a little bit of variety, I'm going to take a 0.01 pen, so also Micron, and I'm going to take that through once as well. Oh, this one's not rating, I don't think. No, this pen is Blotto. Let's see if this one, there we go. I wondered why it wasn't showing up. So just to get a little bit more, there we go. Okay, now I think, so when you put this over, you can see that, you know, it's sort of there, and then you lift it and the quote will go here. So I'm super happy with the way that this has turned out. Now I just need to work on the quote and also add the information so I remember which prompt this is from. So I want to hand letter this, but I don't do this a whole lot. So again, I'm feeling a little bit apprehensive about what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is just take this scrap piece of paper, and I'm just going to take a ballpoint pen and kind of go around this again just so I can get the kind of the location onto this paper, right, like this. And then I'll move my book out of the way. And then I can take and kind of try out the quote that I have in mind. I'm thinking the butterfly is flying this way. And so originally I was thinking I would write the quote like this. But now I'm wondering if maybe I should write it sideways. I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it this way and try it and see if I like it. And if I don't, then I can go the other direction and I won't mess up what I'm doing. So I want to use lines like this in my lettering, and then the quote that I picked, let's see if you can, I don't know if you can see it here, it's this one. Butterflies can't see their wings, they can't see how truly beautiful they are, but everyone else can. People are like that as well. And it's by Naya Rivera, and I love that quote. So what I want to do is butterflies can't see their wings. Maybe I'd turn it that way, can't see how beautiful they are, but everyone else can. And then, so I can't quite fit the whole thing if I do it that way, but I'm okay with that. So, but I can fit the quote in there. So so now really the question is, do I add the lines or not? So I almost wonder if, can I see butterflies can't see there. Can I erase that again? If I put those on there, can I erase them? Yeah, I can erase them. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna, butterflies can't see their wings. They can't see how beautiful. Actually, that one needs to go a little bit lower. Just to try and imitate. They are, but everyone else can. Okay, so I've kind of got my guidelines here, my pencil lines drawn in, and so now I'm going to do my rating. Oh, I made that a little too big. Okay. All right, we'll just do C. There. I think I'm going to do the word beautiful in caps to make it stand out a little bit. You know what? I wonder if in this little spot, the rest of the quote is people are like that as well. I wonder if I can fit that. People are like that as, yeah, I'm gonna try and stick that in there. Get that. People are like that as well. And then, and Rivera, I'll just put Naya Rivera. Yeah. Okay. And then I don't need this anymore. I want beautiful to stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to go back and make that word just a little bit more bold. I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. That's very fun. Okay, all right, the last thing I think I need to do is, I feel like this still isn't quite dark enough. I'm worried that I can't necessarily do this light enough, but I'm going to try. I feel like it needs a little bit more definition than is there. Okay, so then I'm going to use the other side, which is a little bit thinner. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So while this dries, because I definitely don't want to erase the pencil lines until this is totally dry, but what I can do is I can, my machine finally came. I was super excited about that. This is it. This isn't a brand name, but it's an embossing label maker. So this is day 5 opening. So I'm just gonna punch that in. So the number 5, and then a period, and then O, P, E, N, I, N, G, and then a space, and then we'll cut it. And then I've been doing a space at the end as well, just to sort of add on, and that gives us that. And then I think I'm gonna put it here. So just peel the thing off the back and add it right there, number 5 opening. And there we go. So that is it.